Good morning and welcome to the Rapid Recon Used Car Show. So we're going to go with a quick video from our sponsor. Good morning and welcome.
Starting its design in 2010 by car people for car people, Rapid Recon was specifically designed for the reconditioning of pre-owned vehicles. Rapid Recon offers dealers the industry's best used vehicle reconditioning practices for fixed and variable operations. Through the use of a cloud-based software platform that tracks real-time inventory from acquisition through the point of sale, the software provides communication, transparency, and accountability for every team member or vendor that's involved in the acquisition, reconditioning, and sales processes. Powered by AutoApp, the industry standard in safety recall management, Rapid Recon brings you the safety recall information you need to stay on top of the needs of every make and model put through your vehicle inventory. At Rapid Recon, we're always defining our software, so users can expect a trickle of product enhancements every 5 to 6 weeks, keeping the right tools at your fingertips that are current to today's used car market. In addition to software, Rapid Recon's team of automotive industry experts guide dealers down the path of best practices, bringing the key elements of people and process into the fold of the software. By using Rapid Recon, the trifecta of people, processes, and software align the dealer's reconditioning processes to provide a time-to-line focused culture for everyone involved. This practice has proven to anchor successful processes that outlive industry turnover and evolve with growth. At Rapid Recon, we know your business because we've lived it.
And special thank you to Rapid Recon. Oops. Oh yeah, that's right. So first of all, a few book recommendations. It was hard to find books specifically on used cars around reconditioning. So I just picked some books at random that were really, I guess, around used cars. So how to start, run, and grow a used car dealership on a budget, I thought was interesting. Lemon Juice, The Confessions of a Used Car Dealer and Metamorphosis. And The Quick and Easy Guide to Car Auctions, which I'm not sure is pertinent today, being that auctions have changed quite a bit, but it's definitely interesting. So go ahead, Jeff.
Good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Polo here. And for those of you who don't know, that was Ian Nethercott. And welcome to our show. And first of all, I'm going to start with our disclaimer that the views and opinions expressed on the Auto Hub show, those are our guest speakers and guests, and of course, our sponsor today, Rapid Recon, and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the Auto Hub show or Ian Nethercott or Jeff Polo. However, generally we do agree, but officially it's their thing. And so today is our Rapid Recon used car show, and I've been a used car guy forever, and it's kind of nice to see the world trying to get formalized on the reconditioning process, because I go way back, I don't know how many times, and David Long, I'm sure you appreciate this, fighting with the service departments to get them done, and everybody's arguing about retail work, and you know, then the dealer principal or the people with the money are going, well, they're your biggest customer, but no, you got to get the retail people through the door too, and hours per RO. So definitely a great thing to see, and I definitely appreciate what we're doing. And of course, our topic of the week is, has modern reconditioning effectiveness reached its peak? I know what my answer would be, but we're going to have our guests weigh in on this. And we have a few of them today, most of all, not most of all, but joining us officially, unofficially is Dennis McGinn, the Rapid Recon of Rapid Recon. Dennis, so do you mind just saying hello for a moment and introducing yourself?
No, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to join your program for a few minutes. And I think this is a very vital topic right now with what's going on in the industry, obviously. And people used to think they didn't have much time to get cars ready to sell. Well, now they have actually negative time, because they've already got people waiting for things that aren't ready yet. So I'll just leave it there, and we'll talk about that as we go.
And it's actually funny, because many of these people right now are thinking to themselves, well, I don't have to recondition it because I got somebody waiting and they're desperate. So maybe they won't even notice. Second leasing is how, sticking with the team of Rapid Recon, we have Anthony Greenhall, who, with the new title of Director of Sales and Operations for reconditioning the software company Rapid Recon. Anthony's a former dealership fixed ops and body shop manager, and so much more. Anthony, take a moment and say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having us on today. My name is Anthony Greenhalch. I spent 24 years in a store. I worked for one dealer. I held 9 jobs for that dealer, everything from parts management, and then eventually I got into the collision industry. And what happened was I wanted to internalize that used car reconditioning. I wanted to harness that business. I was very tired of seeing those parking lot guys in my parking lot that I was paying rent on, fixing used cars, and that revenue wasn't internalized in any way, maybe other than some sublet markup. And so the president of the company said, you know, if you want that business, you're going to need to get your hands around the entire reconditioning process. So between myself and the service managers, we teamed up and came up with a very robust reconditioning process, which included Rapid Recon, right? That's why we're here. But you know, there's a lot of other things that were tied to that we internalized, but we were able to internalize that business and provide a time to line that was just over 4 days, including cosmetic and body damage. So that's how I found Rapid, and that's how I came to love the reconditioning world.
Oh, thank you. I have to tell you that your comment about the parking lot reconditioning people, the big joke that we always see online is for the anti-dealership group is buying the dealer a new boat. Well, I know a bunch of those people who have their own boats and they got it off our back. So next we have Ed French, who doesn't work for Rapid Recon. Maybe he does, but who knows? He's a principal consultant with Auto Profit LLC, a dealership performance and enhancement firm based out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Ed's also a used car dealer. Ed, say hello to everybody.
Good morning. Thank you, Jeff. And I qualify as the oldest guy on this show. So that's why I can't hold a real job, because I'm actually sort of semi-retired. So, but I've been in the car business since 1973, and boy, have I seen a lot of changes, especially in the last 24 months. And I suspect that in the following 24 months, we're going to see even more. So this is a very timely discussion to have, and I look forward to contributing.
Terrific. Well, thank you very much again. And you may think you're the oldest, but you're definitely the best looking. So
I think David Long takes that trophy. It sure looks like it to me.
Well, I don't know. He's sitting too far away. But next we have with us, I've got to take a look at Dan. Forgive me, Dan Cometh. Director of Sales for the Kenwood Auto Group in Cincinnati, Ohio. Dan, thanks for joining us. And you're obviously a fan of Rapid Recon, so say hello to everybody.
Good morning, everyone. I met Dennis a few years ago, but this is my 28th year in the business. And so I've done all the jobs, kind of like Anthony talking about, where I started and worked my way around a dealership, eventually got to be general manager of 3 different Lexus dealerships, but then came to Kenwood Dealer Group as director of sales right before the pandemic. Great timing. But no, I've been a fan of Rapid Recon ever since I was first pitched the product way back when. And as a former fixed operations manager and used car manager, it made all the sense in the world. And so not only do we use the product, but I guess I'm a pretty big advocate out there talking to other people that don't use it. I'm like, it's like you're crazy if you don't in this industry.
Oh, for sure. And I'm sure lots of people teased you for being a fix ops manager of a Lexus store, which basically means roll them in, roll them out. But I'm an ex-Toyota guy, so I know the drill. And all you did is say, no. And last but not least, joining us from, a very, very cold and rainy place, Southern California. No, you're not Southern, you're Central California, I believe. But it's David Long, the executive general manager of the Hansel Auto Group, founder of the Pandemic of Positivity, and the host of All Things Used Car Show on Clubhouse on Fridays. David Long. David, say hi. Now, while I catch my breath.
Good morning, everybody. Guys, it's always great to be here with you. I am in Northern California. I'm right outside of San Francisco, Napa area. Our dealerships are just next to Napa. Beautiful place to be. I've been in the business about 33 years now, and Ed French and I are the same age. He just has better hair. So glad to be here.
Well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate you taking the time. Appreciate Rapid Recon joining us. Ian, take it away.
Yeah, the show's about better reconditioning. At the onset, I suggested modern reconditioning may have reached its peak in efficiency. Well, I mean, you know, obviously we all talk about reconditioning. We've talked about reconditioning, I'm sure, on other shows to a limited degree, not to this much. How would you define modern reconditioning versus reconditioning? And let's start with Dennis.
Okay, so I came into this business. This may take a minute, so you have to bear with me.
No problem.
I came into this business from my Hewlett Packard and technology background, where I spent a lot of time working with the OEMs. Fiat, Ferrari, Mercedes, BMW, and so on. And I spent a lot of time in Detroit helping Ford Motor Company, built the service bay diagnostic systems and so on. But I was a real student of what happened after World War II with Deming and the idea of process improvement. And everybody knows about that. They've heard about it. And I think the OEMs have really captured all of this, and they have dialed it in, which is the reason that we have cars that don't cost $1 million each. And when I came to the retail side of this and was kind of attracted in here by some people I knew, and they said, you know, we really don't know what goes on in reconditioning. It's all a guess. And I said, okay, well, let me look into this thing from my outside perspective and my experience with process improvement. And sure enough, I got in there and took a look at it, and it was just kind of mind-boggling that nobody really had any good numbers at all. I mean, they were all just kind of saying they had selective memory about the best case things, and they were all just trying to make each other comfortable when they went to 20 group meetings. So I said, okay, this makes no sense. I mean, if you don't really know where you stand, it doesn't really matter. And even back then, we didn't really know what it was costing them to take all those extra days. But you know, we thought, and Comuth will chime in here, but you know, people would say, oh, it's 2 or 3 days, I don't have a problem. But in fact, it was always 18 to 30 days when you counted all the cars. And the difference was enormous in terms of the cost once we got holding costs. So my passion for this whole thing is really just getting going. There are so many variables in reconditioning that continually need to be monitored and managed, to be able to measured and managed. And that's the only way the manufacturers have been able to do what they've done. They built quality cars, and they do it very quickly, and they have production lines. I mean, these things don't just pop out. They're very complicated, and they have to make a lot of moving things happen, not only simultaneously, but be able to change things very quickly. So I look at this retail conditioning problem as kind of a lot of manufacturing type processes that are not one production line. You got a bunch of them going on at a dealership in different ways, and they all have to be coordinated. And we're not even close to being able to get the efficiencies out of these processes. I mean, we've got a few that are pretty good at it, but it's an endless process of knowing where the heck you are. You're always measuring so you can manage and optimize this process. So that's kind of how that's how I got into this thing. And the more I got into it, I realized that the potential here is enormous, because, you know, they're probably half the cars that are in between auctions and dealerships are ones that are just there because of the time it takes to get them from A to B. So huge opportunity.
Interesting. So let's hear from a retail person. So let's start with David. What do you think on the reconditioning front?
So I think this is what came up for me today when I was thinking about the call. control the controllables. And here's what I mean by that. Yes, I think it's changed. I think speed to retail is important. The way we measure everything, I think, is really what sets a dealer up to be successful on used cars. And when I mean everything, I mean from the acquisition to the shop, through the shop, into detail, out of detail, and most importantly, controlling the three controllables, which are: how is your online presence, and is it day one? How is your pricing to market? I often hear, because I have a consulting business too, and I often hear dealers say, well, I can't put the price online yet because it hasn't been through the shop. And I would argue that what happens in the shop has no bearing on what the price of the car is, right? So controlling the controllables, in the first 8 to 12 hours, that car should have a full and compelling description that makes somebody want to jump in their replacement car and race down to the dealership. Also, in that first 8 to 12 hours, it should have a price that's, consistent with the market. And then the rest of it, if I'm managing it every single day, I'll have a product that I can feel good about on a front line, virtual front line, in days. And that's how we measure it at all my dealerships. So we're finding great success. Our days to sale is low. Our margins are high, like a lot of people. And I feel really good about the fact that we are on top of the details. So from a retail perspective, that is the formula that worked 10 years ago, but is working better today than ever.
Thanks, David. Anthony, What do you think?
Well, I think for the dealers, first of all, I do talk with other dealers, and it's amazing kind of what Dennis was talking about before. There's still a lot of dealerships that don't have something in place, which is probably a topic for a whole nother show. But really, in terms of the way that the game is changing, and not to be too much of advertisement here, but like we just started with the auto iPacket feature baked into Rapid Recon. And really, in terms of how it's changing, I agree with what David's saying. You've got to have that car, quickly listed and have a compelling reason for somebody to want to buy it. But I think that you have to get, the more information you get in the customer's hands sooner, the more you're going to win. Because it's when you see the listings come up, when a shopper is looking and they don't know how old the car is, and when there's not a complete set of pictures, or there's not a description on the car, it's like, getting information in front of them, is going to win the day. And the more information they have about the history of the car, because really in a used car purchase, that comfort level the buyer has and the trust level they have is just based upon them getting the proper amount of information where they feel like they can make a rational decision on whether the car is right for them or not.
Fair enough. Anthony, what do you think? You obviously worked in the fixed op side.
Yeah, and my responsibility here was, how are we going to deliver something like this to the variable department and do it in a timely manner? It's not new that vehicles on the front line are going to hold more gross. Now, with everything that we've seen over the last 12 months, it's probably not affected as much as it was in the past, but those days are numbered. I mean, when we see the chip shortage come to an end, we're going to see inventory levels come back up. We're going to be back into focusing on holding costs and the things that matter to the dealer the most. And the days of the decision that you made when you bought that car, it's going to change in 21 days. Those are going to be back. And so from the fixed ops side, how do we deliver that, and what can we do to make things better for variable? That's really where we need to focus today. So when that time hits, we're not scrambling. We saw that in a video just a few minutes ago. We tend to not react. We tend to react and do it in panic mode, and then everything's chaos. It's time to get your affairs in order now, before we start to see this market shift.
Edward?
Well, Ian, it's interesting. I get a chance to walk into a lot of retail automotive stores. And the most interesting thing that I've found, especially recently, is the first question I ask either the dealer principal or the managing partner, or frankly, any of the executive level, is, where's your money? And the answer I always get is, well, it's either in contracts in transit or it's in the CRM. And I say, no, it's in your Recon tool, because your money is frozen until you get that car ready to go. And that is a massive aha moment, because most dealers put Recon in the back room. They hide it, they put it in a corner, don't put baby in a corner, kind of thing. And so, here's your Recon tool, and you've got a lower level employee managing it. You've got somebody that really has no idea about throughput or the things that it costs a dealer on a daily basis. And they go, well, my money's all wrapped up in the leads, or my money's all wrapped up in the deals that I've delivered that I'm trying to get funded. No, folks, it's wrapped up in your Recon tool. And if you really begin to get the tool from the back to the front, and what I mean the back, instead of make it as important. Can't walk into a car dealership today that I haven't seen a manager with the DMS or the CRM screen up, or frankly, VR. And those three screens are always up all the time. Where's your Rapid Recon screen? Heck, when I ask that, 2/3 of them don't even know that they've got it, and the other third don't even know how to log in. And when you really stop and think about it, today is as important as any day. It's getting the clarity and the transparency of getting your Recon throughput clearly on the top of mind of everybody.
Ed, if I can put my 2 cents in there, I'm really glad you mentioned that, because we can all remember back, and maybe not young guys like David, but we can remember back when a dealer was the operator, and the dealer spent their time making sure their cars are ready. They walked through the shop, they questioned the techs on why they want to put brakes on it. They watched the car. They sometimes washed the car, and they took it over to the detail shop just to get it out quicker, because their time wasn't spent worrying about contracts in transit and all that stuff. And of course, now, we have software such as Rapid Recon, well, the best software, to help us through that, to allow managers, executive managers, general managers, used car managers pay attention. But you're so right, because most places I see, we're not as big on vAuto up here in Canada as you're in the States, but they have the CRM open, and the sales managers trying to look for that, checking leads. Well, in the old days, leads were the people that looked at your nice car, right? And even pictures online are pretty crummy looking cars.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Jeff, you're up. Question from Jeff.
I'm up to bat.
Oh, and just in case you don't know, Jeff still works in the used car area and actually runs a used car lot. So he knows this business and has been in used cars for a long time. So.
Well, thank you. I get out there in the dirt every day, so it's kind of nice. But excuse me. So Dan, sorry, not Dan, David. You see reconditioning at eye level in your dealership's Recon software. Is your software still able to meet your changing market needs? And how do you measure that?
So, by the way, I love Rapid Recon, but I love any tool that's used, right? I oftentimes see that the tools that we have, we don't use to their full advantage, to Ed's point. So, I mean, that I could use a sundial and an abacus, and if I use it every single day, 3 times a day, I'll have better results than just having it be an icon on my desktop, right? So yes, without question, we use it, we love it, but it's the buy-in, right? It's the Monday, Wednesday, Friday reconditioning meeting with everybody, not just with the used car manager, but with the reconditioning team, with the service manager, with the sales manager, with the general sales manager. And we know where every single car is at every single point in its process. And that's where the success comes. No offense. I don't know that it's the tool as much as it is the discipline and the consistency.
Sure. Well, thank you. And that's a very good point. And our show last week was about what are you doing with your freaking software? And you hit a good point, because so many places we have software, and as I believe it was Ed that mentioned, or Dan, my apologies, but many of them, they aren't even opened. The Recon software, they're all worrying about leads because everybody's pushing the leads, and many people aren't paying attention to everything else. And we have a virtual closet. But Dan, can you weigh in on this topic, please?
Yeah, I think David hit the nail on the head there with the buy-in aspect. Like we don't have, we have 15 dealerships, but from a buy-in perspective, like it's not my process, it's the store's process. And so whatever works best for them, with the framework, the underlying structure being Rapid Recon, it could, to David's point, there's other, if you have something, it doesn't matter what the tool is, but Rapid Recon provides us the underlying structure, and they determine how they want to use the tool. So the buckets are different by store because it's what they feel is going to work best for them. And when we look at the reporting, what comes out on the other side, then it's okay, guys, what do you want to focus on? Oh, we don't like, we just look at the reports to show how much time the cars are spending in each bucket. And the ones that are the highest, they decide to tackle. They're like, we don't like that. Okay, so what do you want to do? What do you want to try? So it's that constant, you never stop trying to find ways to improve on your number. And when they've got that buy-in, it's like, the moment we walk out, I can't be in 15 places at once yet. When I figure that out, I'll let you know. But since we can't, the moment that we walk out the door, you want to have your people still going at it just as hard as if you were, standing there supervising the process yourself. And it's pretty cool to see when the light bulb goes on, because then you really, when they get the wins, we get the losses too. Don't get me wrong. It's not like you just install the software and everything gets fixed. It doesn't. Our numbers our numbers bounce around where they get worse. And then, then it's the meeting takes a different tone. Then when you get those big wins, it's great to have the celebration, but you lose too. And you learn almost, more from the losses as you do the wins.
Well, it's a very good point, because with you and with David, perhaps a little more so, you overseeing more locations, but it's multiple locations. A tool like this is definitely valuable because you can see what's going on. And by the way, I just want to let you know that we are working with a software company that's going to create holograms so you can be in all locations all the time.
I'm sure that'll be cheap.
So they won't know that is it you or just a virtual you looking over their shoulder. Yeah. Ed, can you weigh in on this, please?
Sure. I look at the tool as a silo buster. Most dealerships have their, everybody's got their tribe, and service silo, parts silo, sales silo, service manager silo. And, I told Dennis the other day, I said, Rapid Recon is like putting everybody in a 9 or 12 passenger van and putting them in the HOV lane. You bypass all the stop points if everybody's riding in the bus together. And, frankly, that's one of the biggest inefficiencies is, every dealership suffers from a distinct lack of communication. All this does is just enhance the opportunity for somebody to say yes to getting a car reconditioned faster, so we can sell it faster. And it's you have to have it. It's not optional anymore. If you went into a car dealership and said, listen, we're going to take your DMS out, they'd all freak out. We need to get everybody to the point where they say, oh, you can't take our Recon tool out. And if we get to that point, we've won. Because frankly, that's what the disruptors are focused on. They're focused on speed and time to line. And if we're going to beat these disruptors, we're going to have to, as retail automotive folks, we're going to have to get on the same HOV lane that they're in. Because Carvana, Vroom, CarMax, they're in the HOV lane. You can rest assured they are.
Well, they certainly are. And I'll guarantee, and hopefully this is true for Dennis and Anthony, that they use a reconditioning software, and hopefully it's Rapid Recon. But then again, if you do they might, your dealers might get mad at you. Dennis, you had a comment to add to this.
He's muted.
You're on mute, David. Dennis.
Let me get off. Yeah, I think there's one thing that was mentioned here a minute ago that's going to also change the way this is done. And this is this relationship with Auto iPacket. And this, in my mind, does something that we need to do badly to bridge the fixed and variable decisions, but to get the information, to get what reconditioning has been put in the car out there right in front of the buyers and right up front, along with everything else, the Moroni, the MSRP, the bill sheet, the warranty information and so on. So, but I think because of Amazon and the people have gotten a lot smarter about how they buy things, and they want to do their own homework, and they want to know about all the options, and they don't want somebody to sell them. They want to be, they don't want to be sold. They want to be buying. And I think there's a big shift in mentality here with that. And it's more, we want to get away from this price thing and build value in everything that's in the car. Well, reconditioning for a long time was kind of thought as of almost an unnecessary cost, but now it's shifted down to being, okay, all reconditioning is not the same. And frankly, the disruptors are doing a terrible job at that. I mean, they don't have places. I mean, they're not doing a good job reconditioning cars. So I think this is a huge deal where we can right up front put all the value add that we put in a car right in front of the customer as they're looking and making a decision on, do I like this car? And why is there value in this car? And getting that reconditioning information in front of them, along with everything else, is really important.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And, you know, it's true that disruptors, well, they promote themselves as actually giving you nearly new used cars. And that's a very good point. We only have really one big competitor up here in Canada called Canada Drives, and they're still very, very small. So I haven't had a lot of experience seeing that, but it's a very good point you made. And it's quite funny because Ian and I talk about a variety of things all the time. And there's one particular Toyota dealer here, and many dealers with this new car situation are sitting with empty lots. But there's a Toyota dealer I know well that they have a partially empty lot and not very many used cars parked willy-nilly, nothing around it. And I was saying that what they should do is go on the auctions and buy these 20 and 21s that are on sale, pay way too much money, but have something to deliver to somebody that wants the car now, recondition it properly. But thank you for that point.
And I think, Jeff, we also have had on the show before, and correct me if I'm wrong, but and it's a great point by Dennis. I mean, if you advertise the reconditioning that you actually did on the vehicle versus it just being an overthought or an understatement or not even mentioned, that might allow you to stand apart, especially when people are moving from site to site to site looking for a used car that they can buy right now. I mean, the data backs this up, that customers are looking for something they can buy right now. And if you stand apart by not only the used car selection you have, but the fact that, you know, you're showing them what you actually did to that car, that's going to differentiate you from other dealers in your market, whether it be Los Angeles or New York or wherever it might be. But you missed out on Anthony, so let's get Anthony's thoughts.
I was going to ask him, but you jumped in on it. Didn't catch me this week.
Great.
Anthony.
Yeah, let's talk about this a little bit, but this always comes down to process and people. I'm a software guy. I work for a software company, but it's always going to come down to software and people. Now, with that said, the software does help you with your process and people. I want to share a real short story. This is a real thing that actually happened in my store. We were having problems with detail. Detail times were up. You know, the knee-jerk reaction before managing things from software is to grab the detailer, sit him down, going, you know, what's going on? Why are you working so slow? How come you can't get cars through here? Well, what we actually discovered when we looked into this before we pulled the detailer in is we went to a report and we pulled it up and we found that we had a technician, a used car technician, that was waiting until the afternoon to pull the vehicles over to the detail bay. And what he would do is he would wait for the afternoon lot tech to show up to work. And the afternoon lot tech would pull all those cars around and they would bottleneck detail. When you're looking at your bottlenecks, make sure that you're looking at what's causing them. In most cases, it's not the department that the bottleneck is in. It's a result of mismanagement and usually in the step before it. We wouldn't have known that had we not been managing it this way. Now, the detailer still got reprimanded for not throwing the technician under the bus because the detailer almost got killed for not saying anything, because we could have cliff jumped and thought it was him. But in fact, it was actually a tech problem. This happens all the time in stages like that. Most commonly, and I'll take this home with you, everybody that's listening to this, but most commonly this happens in that variable to fixed handoff. We take all the vehicles in on trades, we put them in a bullpen, we get a lead lot tech that comes in the next day, and at 8 o'clock he gets to work and he gets started on processing his trades. And by 9:30, the service department has 17 cars. What do you think is going to happen when you put 17 cars in service all at once? We can see those types of behaviors when we track and we manage all of the different stages of reconditioning. It's not just about, it is all about the T2L, time to line and the average days in reconditioning, but get down into the minutia and find out who you need to hold accountable. It'll really help with not holding the meeting where you've got everybody in the reconditioning department in one room and you're going, hey, we just need to get better. You do need to have those meetings, don't get me wrong. But when you're struggling, make sure that you're pinpointing the why and the what, and don't be so quick to jump to the who.
That's a very good point. Thank you for that. And we always forget that your detail guy doesn't want to throw the service guys under the bus, and the service guys will happily throw the detail guy under the bus in a moment. And it's that internal fear of destruction. Talk about a catch-22. Ian.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some shows before on electric vehicles. We've had one of our regular guests actually sells electric vehicle warranties. How do you think electric vehicles will change the way cars are reconditioned? Obviously, certain markets are more popular in electric than others, and I'm not sure when we'll be at 100%, but this is a topic that's come up on many of our EV shows, including from the manufacturers of EVs, I believe, in some cases. What do you think, Dennis? I mean, you have a deep background in reconditioning. And also have to live in California, which I'm sure is one of the biggest EV markets in North America. What's your thought on EVs and reconditioning?
Well, it's all around me here. Most of the traffic jams in my neighborhood are because there are too many Teslas right here. And believe me, you drive down the street here and you can't believe. I mean, you keep counting them. It's amazing. But I do think that the electric vehicle market is going to change this, and it's going to go pretty fast. And because people want to do their part for the environment, and so that's why I think all the manufacturers are rushing to this. But they're going to make a lot of mistakes because they're going to rush into this thing, and these cars have more and more electronics on them. And they're, even though they can download the firmware remotely to keep these things operating properly, it's going to get more complicated. The techs are going to have to be smarter. They're going to have better tools, but they're still going to have to do a proper job of reconditioning the cars. And they're going to have to display that out there. Again, these are smarter buyers. They want to know. And all these safety gadgets and convenience gadgets, comfort gadgets, and things that are going in. I mean, we're going to go from where performance has been a big thing, from a bigger engine to better seats that vibrate and keep people warm. So that's going to create more complexity in here. I think it's going to require technicians that are a little more up to date, that are comfortable texting on their iPhones and so on, to know where the parts are or whatnot. But it's definitely going to change it. But I think it's going to actually help us do a better job of putting the the reconditioning out there in front of people so that they know it was done properly. Because I think they're going to feel for a while this it could be a little riskier with the electric vehicles. So it's not quite as sure about them, especially as all the manufacturers come pouring into this market with their offerings. Now, Tesla's established a pretty good baseline, but if you remember right, they had some real issues getting going. I mean, they had plenty of bad things happen along the way. I think they've kind of settled that out, but the others are going to go through a similar cycle with their designs.
Yeah, you've seen that as Tesla has been bashing on Rivian this week and last week, so it's definitely been interesting. And David, you're also in California. I mean, what do you think about the reconditioning electric? I'm assuming you sell your fair share of them.
So I actually like the play and the leverage we have as being an electric dealer. Here's why. The customer's coming back to us. They're not going to Oil Can Henry. They're not going to Jiffy Lube. They're coming back to us. We really have them on that proverbial string. And if we're able to reduce their trade cycles, I think it's going to be a win-win-win all the way around. I'll give you an example. So one of the rooftops is a VW. We have 120 pre-sold ID4 orders in Northern California. Like now we have the iX in the BMW store and the i4. Northern California is just like 50% of the market is electric. So I could not be more excited about what the electric world offers us. And if you've seen my post a few days ago, the new Apple electric car, I posted that. It is like, I think our competitive advantage is going to be the way we outservice the competitors. And that's really where we need to put our focus for customer retention, in my opinion. So that's my spin.
Yeah, I do have to say, David, I was lucky enough to go on holidays to Europe just recently, just came back, and there's ID4s everywhere. And the European market is miles ahead of North America for electrics. And Vancouver is very much like your neck of the woods with electrics. It's a big market here and a big penetration of it. But boy, there's some funky electric cars coming. So it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And we did have a comment from, I think it was from Morris. He says that, he sees very little recon in his opinion anyway, with the bolts and the volts, I guess, General Motors. And he also feels there's going to be a longer cycle than ICE vehicles. Anyone want to comment on that?
Well,
let me just take one quick stab. Like, I didn't need a new iPhone, right? I didn't need this. My other one was perfect. It was like, it looked just like I got it out of the box. But the reason I got it is because it was new and it had some cool little gadgets. I think when we get good at trade cycle management, and we don't make it a pain in the ass for a customer to replace their vehicle, and they're able to just dial in and come pick up their car and drop off the one they have. I mean, that's where I see us being able to have a competitive advantage. But if we stick to I can't tell you, you have to bring it in, I don't know, we're going to be dinosaurs.
Agreed.
So that's my take.
That's a very interesting comment. I have to say, for how many years now have we been saying stop doing that? And even today, people still do it. It's phenomenal. Sorry, Ian.
Crazy.
Yeah. Dan, any comments on the EVs or any comments on trade cycle?
We're buying, we bought quite a few Teslas. We have 3 VW stores, so I know what David's talking about there. We've got Subaru, we've got Toyota. There's a whole slew of electrics that are coming down the pike. But the Teslas that have gone through reconditioning, I mean, they don't have some of the fluids that the other cars have. But I mean, from a reconditioning standpoint, I mean, it's we don't look at them any differently than we would a diesel truck, right? Where it's like, as long as you have the ability to get the car through, and really on those cars, it's been crazy. The hardest part with a Tesla is trying to figure out how to praise the thing, because they've got so much software in there. It's dependent, it's like subscription based. But once we actually acquire the car, no, I mean, they, besides everybody in the dealership wanting to drive it because they want to, if they haven't driven one before to test it out. But no, I think we just, if we treat, I don't think electric's going to take over them. I mean, eventually it's going to be a part of the market, but at least for the next 10 years or so, I see electrics being a niche part of it. There's gas electric hybrids, there's ICE vehicles that are still going to be the majority of the cars, but it really makes no difference to us. If it's got 4 wheels and a VIN, we can put it through the process because there's somebody that wants to buy it.
You didn't mention hydrogen. Why?
Yeah, well, hey, when Toyota if they bring the Mirai out here, hey, we do it. It doesn't matter. They're, at the end of the day, these are widgets, and like David said, I mean, I've got an iPhone as well, and I'm a fan of that. But if there's a market out there and somebody wants to buy it, well, I want to sell it, right? So it doesn't, what it is doesn't make as much of a difference as the market demands.
Anthony?
Good point. Anthony, you're on mute.
Oh, I must have been unmuted before.
That darn thing.
I know. Coming from the fixed side, I don't have a lot of optics into the variable side and what to expect with the sales end of this. But I can tell you from experience that the person that messaged in earlier, we saw the same thing with I worked for a Chevy Metro dealer, and we had all the GM franchises appended to that. So we did see quite a few volts, but the reconditioning on them was quite a bit less mechanically. Now, cosmetically, you've got a car that the price point is going to be a little bit higher than it is with your gas vehicles. You want to make sure that is cosmetically sound. And I like to use a term called sensory ready. And I do that because the car could be the most beautiful car on the planet. And when you put your wife in it, if it's got any kind of odor, you are not taking that car home, period. And so just make sure that that you're reconditioning these cosmetically. So when somebody rolls in and they're spending $60,000, $70,000 on a used car, that they're not fighting you over dents and smells and stuff that somebody who said it earlier, control your controllables. Was it David? Was that you?
Yeah.
This is absolutely one of those things. So that's my insight on these electrical vehicles. I don't think you're going to see as much mechanical reconditioning, but make sure that you are on point on this cosmetic stuff.
Well, we did have that case here locally with I think it was a Model S that someone had bought, and they'd sold it having this auto driving software, which it didn't have. And then there was a fight between the dealer, Tesla, and the customer afterwards. And I think it was about, I don't know, I think it was like a $10,000 upgrade or something, $7,000 to $10,000. And they'd misappraised the car. It didn't have that feature, but they'd sold it to the customer with that feature. And then there became this pointing fingers between the customer and everybody else, which I think was a valid example of, know what you're appraising.
And meanwhile, of course, the dealer probably spends on advertising, lead software and everything, $30,000-$40,000 a month. And they probably lost a full month's worth of promotion by being on TV and arguing about it. Really, what they should have done is contacted Tesla and come up with a compromise and get it done.
Yeah.
So
Edward, any comments on EVs?
They still got tires. They still got brakes. They still got windshield wipers. It's not a Flintstones car. It's the only thing it doesn't have is it doesn't have ICE. And so what we have to recognize, to Anthony's point, which is just spot on, this car has to be a 10 of 10. And because it's a discriminating buyer, it's a customer that is looking to get a value by purchasing a pre-owned electric, but they don't want the standard sort of reconditioned standards that a lot of dealers are still doing. They want that car to be a 10 of 10. So it's going to have to go through everything except the ICE issues to bring it up to standards. And I see it as a great opportunity. They're very loyal. They're not going anywhere. To David's point, where are you going to go with a electric vehicle to get something done? You're not going to Oil Can Harry. To David's point, you're coming right back to the dealership. So the retention is extraordinarily high. And if you push it out the door at a 10, they're a 10 for the lifetime of the customer.
Also, from a body shop point of view, I happen to live near a body shop that specializes in Teslas, and every time I go down there, I know that there's this driver accident avoidance software, but they seem to have a lot of Teslas stacked up trying to get fixed. So that's a huge opportunity if you have a body shop as part of your group.
I don't think it works below 25 miles an hour. So
yeah, they always seem to have a stack of them waiting to be fixed. But Jeff, and since it's the time, do you want to do a lightning round quiz time? You got
you betcha.
6 minutes.
You betcha. So very quickly, lightning round, one guest at random. What don't dealers know about reconditioning? Anthony.
Oh my gosh, you put me on the spot.
I know.
I'll tell you what, a good parts procurement person, and that's not a parts counterman, but a good parts procurement person can make or break your recon process. And it's the number one area that gets ignored. Make the parts department just as much of a priority in your reconditioning process as every other department. Your parts manager should be sitting next to your service manager.
Yeah, thank you. And so, Ed, why do some dealers continue to use manual recon processes, given all the evidence there seems to be for the automated process?
Because they just haven't seen the value, and frankly, they don't recognize that the reconditioning dollars that they're presently spending can give them a 1.5x return in profit. They do not understand. Spend $1, get $1.50 in profit if you recondition it correctly.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good point. I agree completely. And so as not to surprise somebody else, we're gonna hit David up for this. How might dealership consolidation influence the recon market?
Economy of scale, right? Being able to do everything under one roof and then supply that network of dealers is how I see it influencing.
So are you telling me that Dennis agrees to give discounts the more dealers you got?
I would think that it would be one rooftop eventually. There's your economy of scale.
There you go. I've seen Dennis is very quiet about that, so I'll just move right on. Dan, why would car buyers care to know how their dealership reconditioned its cars? How many times do customers ask that of their salespeople?
Actually, that's a very good question, but we're trying to get out in front of it, kind of to Dennis's point with the auto iPacket, because in the short time we've been using it with our sales consultants, they're actually trying to volunteer that information because we know that the customer is shopping more than this car. And so what we try to do is say, they'll say, well, I'm looking at another one. We have like 7 of our stores in an auto mall, and there's a lot of rooftops there. And so we asked the customer, did the other dealer show you what they spent on the car? And the answer is no. So we said, well, we're here at, our, insert store name here. We believe in giving the customer all the information. So look, here we did the tires and the brakes. You're not going to have to, you're not going to have to spend money on this, but if they're not telling you at the other store, what do you think they're trying to hide? All you have to do is plant that seed of doubt. And then you get the customer, you know what? Hey, honey, I'm ready to stop shopping. I'm ready to start buying. I think we win long-term with that.
It's still very funny. We're still scared to tell people what we did to the car in case they say, oh. So Dennis,
yeah,
truly, aren't all reconditioning software systems the same? I got you on that one.
No, really. I mean, since I started this company in 2010, I've seen a whole bunch of them take a shot at it, and they've all pretty well missed the mark. They come at this in terms of having a bunch of engineers develop something engineers like to develop instead of being car people. And in the end, you get something that is harder to use. It takes more clicks to get it done, or it was designed just for vendors, or there's nothing there that is really that good. There's a lot of claims. Oh, we're better than this. I mean, we've kind of created the standard, and a lot of people running around saying, well, we've got something that's better than this, but there really is not anything. And I'm speaking with the absolute accuracy. A lot of people have tried to copy what we're doing, and or a few people have tried to copy, but they haven't even done a very good job of that. So my advice to people is if you're going to look at different options, the best thing I've ever seen is to do a runoff, put Rapid next to whatever it is and run it for a month. And that'll give you the information, because a lot of decisions are still made by GMs who think they should know how to solve this problem. I mean, they've been saying they've solved it for years, but most of them aren't real users. I mean, they're not hands-on, and they don't talk to the users before they make the decision. I mean, the people that should be making the decisions are the ones that actually are accountable to be able to push buttons and say, okay, I'm done. I know what I'm supposed to do. So, yeah, so they aren't all alike, and you don't want to spend your time trying different things. I've spent a little bit of time fixing things where people went off and tried things, and a year later they realized that they just didn't fix a lot of problems. They never got their processes improved. They just thought they got a good deal from somebody. So yeah, they are not all the same. And yeah, I am biased, but frankly, I know probably more about this problem in this industry than anybody else around. And I have made it a point in what I've done here to continually improve what we're doing. But my passion here is about giving them something that's easy to use. It's not technically complicated, and get them involved with their own process improvement, the continuous improvement of their processes. That's where I think a lot of the value comes out of the teamwork. And you have to have teamwork, you have to have cooperation. You got everybody shooting at the same metrics that are up there in front of everybody. And then you get synchronization. You get the kind of things that you would hope to get when you get towards automating things. The reason we have all these gadgets, they've done a very good job. But in a retail environment, there are always things changing, always challenges. And you don't want to be messing around with different tools. You want to have a standard that you can benchmark from. You know what the best practices are. You know that, and put your effort into the supporting the process improvement, the mentality, and what I call the culture. I like to talk about time to line cultures, and then everybody understands what the role is. So anyway, that's how I see it. And like I say, I do this day in and day out. I love this particular part of the business. Mainly, I guess, is because there are an infinite number of problems to fix. So I like fixing problems.
Well, thank you. I love your comment too about versus the users, and I'll put in my term, the overseers. And it's one thing to tell people to do it, and the people using it to use it. And that tool is a tremendous tool. And I wish we were actually a big enough operation with a more controlled reconditioning abilities to use it. But I agree with you completely. I've taken a look. I've read the book, which I love the book. Thank you very much. Ian, I'll leave it to you.
Thanks very much, everyone. It's a very important topic, especially as we grow in used cars with a lack of new cars. I think it's imperative to make sure you're maximizing your turns, your inventory, and standing apart. And I think Rapid Recon is a great tool to help there. And as Jeff mentioned, if anyone's interested in a book that we have available, just reach out to us on the show, Ian and Jeff at autohubshow.com. And we're happy to send that out. And thanks very much, everyone, for their input.
I do have to say one parting shot here. I do know that when people come up with upsells for electric vehicles, that Dennis, Anthony, and the team of Rapid Recon will be able to share that with everybody. And actually have a special little hint. I've heard that you can now arrange for cleaning of brushes on electric cars to be upsold in the service department, and most used car managers are going for it. Just kidding, just kidding. Thank you, everybody. It's been a real pleasure.
Have a great week.
All the best.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.